Namaste. So last week we read about rebirth. So today we'll read about birthday special. So we all celebrate birthdays and we all mourn death, but for the wrong reasons. We celebrate birthday because parents think now a child has come. He will be the budhape ki lathi, sahara. So selfish thought starts from there. My child, he will help me when I grow old. So it's a wrong reason because the child is not sent to us to fulfill our wishes. The child is sent to earth to fulfill the divine plan and mission of the divine. But because we as human beings naturally live in the zone of selfishness, so we celebrate, okay, one more. Like in ancient time, the boy birth was celebrated and girl birth was not. The reason was that, in an agricultural society, when you had a boy, so he will contribute hands to the farming. But now girls have proved that they can do much better. They don't go to farms, but they they can bring a lot of everything, name, fame, everything. So now that whole purpose is gone. But this is how many of these practices came into life. But basically, birth is that there is a fresh opportunity to the soul to relive its purpose. So, what is the original plan? We have to keep going back to that original plan. Ekoham bahushyami. Instead of going into what is my mission and all, we can talk about it and debate about it. But the minimum requirement is the one wanted to become many. So, all of us are meant to manifest the divine. That's it. So, or we may say become divine. Now, when people say all is divine and I am divine, Sri Aurobindo cautioned against it, and Mother reminds us that it can easily lead to aggrandizement. So we should be very careful when we say that. It is true of a certain plane and at a certain point, but to use this phrase prematurely, like Ravana did, Aham Brahmasmi, led to a great downfall. So what is true is that through the cycle of births and death and rebirth, we are coming again and again to manifest the divine. And to manifest the divine, we must first discover and become one with the divine. So these are the two main works. So to put it in another way, people often ask, there are many questions we ask about oneself, about life, and about 100 things. There is only one question to be asked, and that is not even who am I, but a very pragmatic question. Who am I is still a theoretical question. So what is the pragmatic question? Well, if there is a divine, how to find it? Very simple. Because if you don't find the divine, there is a divine and you don't find him, then you have lost the great opportunity of finding the creator who will answer all the questions. Instead of asking one question, what is my life going to be? What is going to happen to me 10 years down the line? Tell me, where will my child study? All these questions, we ask 100 questions, even metaphysical question, karma theory, struggle, all these questions we ask. But if we take it that what is the question we need to ask, how to find the divine, not even whether divine exists or not. So if we find the divine, all other questions are automatically answered. Because then he is there, he will tell us every question we can place to him. He is the originator, he is the creator. So we can meet him and he will tell us. So this is how many of the yogas proceed, and there is a great logic in it. Find the divine first. Don't waste time on metaphysical inquiries. Buddha even didn't use the word divine. But he would refuse to answer all metaphysical questions. He would say, there is suffering. Is it true or not? Yes. So, do you want to get out of suffering? Yes. So I am telling you why the suffering is there, because of ignorance. Oh yes, ignorance means you don't know who you are, you don't know why you are here. How to get rid of it? Eightfold path. That's it. Now if you ask him about complex things, that this God is greater, the aspects of gods, he would refuse to answer. So the pragmatic question is how to find the divine. That's why our souls are born. First to find the divines, and then as a consequence to manifest the divine. Similarly, we mourn death. Why do we mourn death? Again, for the wrong reasons. My loved one has gone. But actually, every death is the opportunity for a greater life. Death is the soul's opportunity. So what we could not fulfill, in one life, we are going to fulfill in another life. But yes, death is a tragedy if we have not been able to live the life we were meant to live. That's why often it is said that, what is success? How to define success? Success is when you have lived what you were meant for. What was the original divine intent in you? If you live that, it is success. If you have not lived that intent, and the intent has been corrupted by all kinds of viruses, outer success, outer ambition, wealth, etc., which society teaches us, then we have missed the point. That life is tragic, and that death is obviously a tragic death. So that's how we have to look at life and death. So every birth is an opportunity to live life afresh. And at the same time, it is not the same path for everyone. Each one will discover in his own way. What is this? What is success for a flower? It is to bloom fully. And if you want to take one step forward with due regard and without meaning to disrespect Maithili Sharan Gupta ji, Phul ki Abhilasha, it is to be offered at the feet of the divine. There can be no greater felicity. वीर पथ पे जो जा रहे हैं, बिकॉज ही रोड सो जिस पथ जाए वीर नहीं, वी डोंट नीड फ्लावर्स. They are not for flowers. They need weapons. They need bal. They worship the goddess of power. They are not, they can be also lovers and seekers of knowledge, but they are warriors. If you put flowers before them, that's not what they want. They want chivalry. They want challenge. They prefer if there is an enemy who is capable, with whom when they fight, then if they win or lose, they feel equally ki it was something tremendous. So this is how we're. But for a flower, the best is that it is offered to the divine feet. That's its maximum. Or as a kanthamala for the divine. Flower's consummation. But for iron, consummation is to become steel, which can be used for the sword of the divine or for something equally wonderful, because steel is strong, shining, stainless. It can become that. For another metal, gold, the consummation is to become ornament for the divine, something which adds to the beauty and the glory of the divine. For sand, its consummation is to somehow ensure that the divine steps his feet over it. So for everything, there is a grand consummation. And it is different. For flowers to be trampled below the feet is not a consummation. Grass. What is the consummation for grass? You make a whole garden. Don't put grass. You have missed it. You put grass, even if you have not put anything, still it is something which makes the earth beautiful. So that's its consummation. So for everything, there is a different peak. Divine has designed this world in such a way that each one has to realize the divine through his own path. This is so important, we keep forgetting when we proselytize or when we teach everybody the same technique. It's not life. Life grows organically. That's why Eko Ham Bahushyami, along with that, Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Swami Vivekananda in one place says the true Satyug will be when each man will follow his own path. Each one will have his own dharma, religion. Not religion in this sense that we use in English, but he will discover his own law of life. For Arjuna, the dharma is to fight the battle and conquer. For Buddha, the dharma is not that. Sri Aurobindo makes it clear. If Buddha asks Shri Krishna, what should I do? Or if Sri Ramakrishna asks Sri Krishna, what should I do? There is a war going on. Should I go and fight? But I have a lot of bhakti for Kali. Sri Krishna would have said, you forget the war. You go and pray to Kali. Because that's his Swadharma. Sri Aurobindo reveals it very beautifully. So, birthday is a day when we discover not only in a general sense that, we have to find the divine, but it's a day when we discover our unique path through which we are meant to move. Now this path, one is the broad path, to find the divine. But each one will have his own unfolding. For instance, there would be somebody for whom beauty is my way to the divine. For somebody else, truth is the way to the divine. For someone else, harmony is the way to the divine. For another person, Shivoham, peace, peace, peace is the way to divine. For somebody else, illumination, the blazing truth of knowledge is the way to the divine. For another person, it's power and strength and might. For yet another person, it's one area of life where one wants to do a kind of detailed perfection. So for each one, and it's a time to reconnect with the approach one has to take. Now one may say, but integral yoga, that's why it is integral yoga, where there is no fixed method. In integral yoga, each one will start with that unique point. Ultimately, every part will be included, but they will all be colored with this central point from where you start the journey. So if somebody takes the path of beauty, so it'll be beauty in the thoughts, beauty in the feelings, beauty in the life impulses, beauty in each gesture and posture. Integral yoga, but through the path of beauty. Integral yoga, through the path of knowledge. It's not just knowledge in the mind, but knowledge, intuition in the heart. In the manifestation of love, there is that luminosity. Life becomes something luminous, where it is following the divine will and the command. So it will follow that path. At the end, they will all meet. But there is something unique approach to each individual. There are some people to whom it is told, Sri Aurobindo's letter, that to some we say, sit and meditate. To some others we say, no need to meditate, do work. To some others, you have bhakti for the mother, nothing else is needed. So this is the unique path. Some others will aspire for perfection, for progress. Each one is right. So you have to reconnect with the core aspiration. It is not like reading a book or hearing somebody. It is reconnecting with my aspiration. And there are hints of it in childhood. Unfortunately, we forget. There is something which runs as a deeper thread of life, which one can see in childhood, glimpses. But as we grow up, it's like study, do this, do that. Childhood utterances, which, have been passed off as meaningless things. But they are indicators of a future. Like I remember my childhood, if somebody asked me, what do you want to do, 7-year-old? I said, I want to fight in the Devasur Sangram from the side of the Devas. Crazy ambition. No school would teach it. This was like, लड़ाई करना है देवों की तरफ से देवासुर संग्राम में. Now it's my aspiration, but somebody else it may not be. So one has to discover that aspiration through which one connects. And when I said this, parents got very worried. ये क्या है, तो स्कूल में जाएगा, ये क्या करेगा, देवासुर संग्राम, पाशुपतास्त्र, ब्रह्मास्त्र. So I was very fascinated with mythologies and some stories which really drew me very close because, I could connect with them. But there are others who don't belong to that. If you put mythologies in front of them, they will say, what is all this? Tell me about something else, modern science. It's perfectly fine. It's not that this is correct or that is correct. For some people, it turns out like that. They are reconnecting with something from the past to leap into the future. With still others, I remember a close friend. He said, my big advantage was that I didn't know anything about any mythology. Good friend. He turned to Mother and Sri Aurobindo after outwardly coming in contact with me. But he said that, it was my big thing that I didn't, nobody exposed me to anything. So when he entered into Sri Aurobindo, he had no problem. This is wonderful. So each one has to follow his own journey and his own path. This we will see in today. One of the poems we are going to read is related to that. It's a beautiful little poem, very beautiful. See, the beauty of these poems is Sri Aurobindo's heart. We look at Sri Aurobindo sitting like this and yogi of the supermind and philosopher was... First of all, philosopher is to downgrade. Thinker is to downgrade. Yogi, but when you look at him, looks like a yogi who has crossed all the limits. How does that yogi look at somebody's birthday? A child comes, supposing who came to Sri Aurobindo and said, Lord, it's my birthday. Say something. So he's not going to each one will be different. So look at it like this, that normally we'll say, give a lecture. Birthday, oh, this is so wonderful, special day, because we have read it all, no? Cycles of time, suddenly on that day, you have an occasion to connect. All these things we'll say. Standard format. So you spend your day like this. But look at how Sri Aurobindo, to each one, he will reveal in his own way. So this is some child who has, let's look at it like that, who has come to Sri Aurobindo and said, Lord, or Papa, it's my birthday. Tell me something. So Sri Aurobindo is telling something. And the poem is, see, this is how you should read Sri Aurobindo. Not with a very serious, I'm going to read a poem of Sri Aurobindo. And suddenly your tone changes. Have you seen people? The spring child on Basanti's birthday. No, don't read like that. Don't be artificial. The Lord doesn't, he will get bored. He will just, walk away. This fellow is putting up a show. Like in, hymns like that. Once in a while you can say it because it's the spontaneous expression. The Lord loves truth. He doesn't like artificiality. So, the spring child on Basanti's birthday. The spring child name is Basanti. Jyestha 1900. Now look at, it may pass off. Sri Aurobindo is using the Hindu almanac. Jyestha. That's how he is starting. 1900, this poem is written. Whoever was the blessed child, all of us. Okay? Oh, of spring is a name for whose bud and blooming we praise today the giver. Years on end. How is starting? Okay, not Yasashvi Bhava, Ye Bhava. How is starting? Look at the master poet with a tender heart. You can see Sri Aurobindo's heart is soft as the softest thing you can imagine. Hard as diamond and soft as butter. He melts very soon, like Shiva. Just a little aspiration, it all melts. Just take it. Of spring is a name for whose bud and blooming we praise today the giver. How, what a compliment. Lord, giver, he has given. Giver is with a capital G. Of spring and its sweetness clings about her. For her face is spring, and springs without her as loath to leave her. Now look where he takes this simile. That spring is a festival of sweetness. So he says, you are all about sweetness. And you are an embodiment of sweetness. And if you were to withdraw, then what will be spring without you? So, in a human being, she's meant to embody sweetness of life. So, for her face is spring. Fresh as spring, full of sweetness. From faces you can see whether somebody is a warrior type, little roughness on the face but with its own beauty, or somebody is a knowledgeable type, somebody who is full of sweetness and harmony, and springs without her, as loath to leave her. Spring doesn't want to leave her. Says, here, I have found a beautiful home. See, it is summer. The brilliant sunlight lies hard on stream and plain, and all things wither with heats diurnal. Because, transition, summer is going to come, it has started. And all things are withering. But what is the beauty of spring? But she, how vanished things, and vernal in her remain. So vernal is the equinox, equal. It says that summer comes and all the flowers wither. When people are very tired, heat, effort, activity, see how much sweetness will remain. You go and meet such a person and, there is all kinds of emotions that rise. But she is someone in whom sweetness will remain throughout. It is not affected by the changing landscapes and changing moments of life. And almost indeed, we repine and marvel to watch her bloom and grow. So the Lord is saying, just imagine what a blessed child, that we repine and marvel. Who said that, if you give it to a traditional Vedantin, You will say, all this is attachment. Arey, the Lord has attached himself to creation. But he is not attached in the ignorant way. See here, he is revealing all that inner truth of this child. For half we had thought our sweet bud could never bloom out, but must surely remain forever the child we know. So on one side, because she is so sweet that probably she will never bloom out into that summer heat she may not have to face, but she is blooming out. We see that happening. But now, though summer must come and autumn in God's high governing. Summer means, now spring is, youthful energy, adolescence and childhood. That's spring. In Savitri, you see, mother's birth, there also it comes where spring and summer lay arm in arm equal. Who will reign? The earth. And then summer comes. So spring is, say, something like 16, 17, 18 years, 19 years. Then there is the summer heat. Summer heat means tapasya. Examination, job, everything. So you are entering the summer. Then when you have gone through summer, then comes the purifying rains. After you have gone through all the heat of life. Then after some time you say, let's look back and say, Jo kaha kiya dekha jana, kya bhala kiya ya bura kiya. Quoting, misquoting. Okay? Some poet. Ki is a time you look back upon life. It's called the midlife. So in midlife, people look back and see their life, what they have done, not done. Then they go into a pensive state, and then there is the rain, when there is a purification process. Sometimes they go into all these dank and dark despair, but ultimately it purifies. And then there is autumn, when they say, okay, I have seen life, the 4 ashramas. Now I must withdraw deeper and prepare for a new spring. That's how the 4 ashramas. So he says, all these things will come in her life also. But now, though summer must come and autumn in God's high governing, yet I deem that her soul with soft insistence shall guard through all change the sweet existence and charm of spring. This is her soul's need. So summer will come. Rains will come, winter will come, autumn will come. But her soul manifests the quality of sweetness. That Sri Aurobindo is saying that she will guard that sweetness. Otherwise, what happens when summer comes? People lose it. इसको कहते हैं life's harsh lessons. क्या बोलते हैं उसको? क्या चलता है? Axis, कुठाराघात. So he says, even then, because this is a soul quality, and that must never wither away. So even through the summer and winter, this quality of softness and sweetness will remain. The charm of spring. Charm of spring is being ever youthful, ever creative, ever into the new. It's not about body. It's about your inner existence. Oh dear child soul. So now he is bringing out that aspect. Oh dear child soul, our loved and cherished. Sri Aurobindo, even as a yogi, has used this word. 1900, he is still not entered consciously. Look at what he writes to Dilip Kumar Roy. Someone whom I have cherished as a friend and a son. And then he says, I want to go. He says, no, mother and myself, we are refusing permission. We will never allow you to go. We think we have the right to tell you. So all this idea that we have developed, that otherworldliness, detachment in the sense of otherworldliness, inner detachment from ego self is a must. From the desired self is a must. But not a detachment from life and its manifold activities. We have to enter into it with the consciousness of truth, of beauty, of light, of love. That is how we have to engage. And that is only possible when the ego and desired self goes. But with detachment, we misunderstood from people, from events, circumstances. So I remember one instance in our, Bangalore Bhavan. Somebody came and chopped off the chandan tree and took away. So we asked the manager, what happened? He says, he was doing it in front of my eyes. I said, so what, you didn't even raise alarm? No, I was just watching it detached as a witness. He said, please leave the place, Dara was like that. He would sit and, meditating with smoke in hands and mosquito repellent in his feet. And the window is open. So somebody entered the room and sees that some thief is putting a rod and picking up shirts and stealing. And he said, Dara, Dara, see what is happening. He said, I am seeing. What are you seeing? I am seeing how he is stealing. Some people, that is the path. But the integral yogin engages with life. Witness state can be a passage. It's not the end. You have to re-engage with life. And the Lord is showing how He is re-engaging with life. O dear child soul, our loved and cherished, for this thy days had birth. So that's the day when we remember why we are born. For this, to manifest sweetness. Now we think that, we have to do big things to, do something great. Then we fulfill life's mission. So supposing you ask people, what is the goal of your life? So they must say something like, I must become doctor, engineer. Nowadays, politician is also in, or gangster, that also. Lot of money, I must become a rich man. But supposing a child says, I just want to spread sweetness. So what will you do? You will say, thoda Dr. Alok Pandey ko consult kar lo. I'll say to the parent, you need treatment. This is the only child who is talking sense. Why not? Born to just spread light, born to just radiate peace, born to spread joy in every heart by the inner joy, not pleasure. Born to just make everybody around so much at ease just by your presence. Why can't these be works? They are works. Sweetness is people miss it, lack it. And if there can be some dynamos who just give sweetness, that is something so wonderful. God will not see what degree you had. He'll say, oh yes, I had sent you to manifest sweetness, to spread laughter. Not as a joker, but... and good, you did my work well. You know that story when the driver and the priest who used to sit behind both went accident and both landed up at the pearly gates, and Saint Peter said to the driver, heaven for you. Heaven for him. This Tuch Manav, only a driver, but maybe grace of God. To priest, hell for you. Sir, please check, something is wrong. No, our computer never says wrong. It's about all the effect you had on people. What do you mean, sir? What effect? I was doing good things. Every time I was praying all the time, day and night. He said, yes. When this driver drove the car, everybody prayed. And sir, what about me? When you prayed, everybody slept. They found it so boring, they were waiting, kab khatam hoga. So it is not about what we are doing outwardly, but how we are spreading. There is divinity is spreading in life. See flowers. If you ask somebody that, if somebody says, I want as my profession to write poetry, you'll be surprised that there'll be few parents who will say, no, please, next option. Supposing somebody said, I just want to write, and for the joy of writing. Now, of course, or painter. So, painting karke kya milega? Kahan to paint karega? Where you will study? But there is so much beauty, arts. So, there is a whole side of life which is so beautiful, which can give beauty to earth, sweetness to earth. So, he is saying, you are born for this. For this thy days had birth. So, what he is telling, why you are born? You are born to, become a doctor, engineer. No, none of those things. Like some tender flower on a grey stone portal. What is the grey stone portal? The hard earthly life. To sweeten and flush with childhood immortal the aging earth. When everybody who is burdened with care and aging, seeing you, it will be like on a rocky landscape, suddenly they see a sweet flower and say, this is so nice, let's click a flower. That should be your life. There are flowers, but then he says, to each one it is different. There are flowers in God's garden of prouder blooming. The people born for proud deeds. Achilles, Arjuna, they can't, if you tell Arjuna you are born to give sweetness, Arjuna will say, let me come back in another body. Achilles tries to escape war, but his destiny carries him there. So Prouder blooming. So there are flowers in God's garden of Prouder blooming, brilliant and bold and bright. The tulip and rose are fierier and brighter. The red tulips, they look like already in column, marching orders, and they'll march. Beautiful flowers though, no? Tulip garden. Rose, majestic, like a king. Roses feel like that, Roses, it is said that all the thorns around roses symbolic that, they like, you can't reach the king directly. So the thorns are like, you're not allowed to come too close to me and touch me, because I am rose. And roses are very proud flowers, incidentally. So if you plant some other flowers along with rose in the same, roses don't feel good. And yes, they have, mother once goes to that extent that once she was having flowers and which she was giving, and she said something about another flower that's so beautiful. She says, suddenly the rose flower put a little thorn into her flesh. She didn't like it. Royal, got jealous. How can some other flower be praised in front of me? This conversation is there in agenda. But roses are in their own. So here what he is revealing to us is we don't have to become somebody else. This whole thing, story of, in Aesop's fable, the tortoise and the hare. Why should they run a race together? The tortoise should have said, intelligent tortoise, rabbit, we'll have two races, one on land, one on water. And the third will be both. Let's see who wins. 3 matches, whoever wins. So tortoise would have had to do nothing. He would have just have been to his natural self, he would have won. He didn't need to crawl and, wait for the rabbit to sleep, which he never would in a race. So this is what he is saying. Each of us are born for something, and we must express that in life. We should not imitate, copy, or become someone else. Even when people said, we want to become like you, he says, my God, another Sri Aurobindo. No. Let there be only one sample. Though people started keeping names of their children, minus the C, Sri. And he said, see, this name was not common. My father kept the name thinking it's the most uncommon name. Now I see so many of them springing all around. So each one has to discover there is Krishna's way and there is the Shiva's way and all the other ways in between. So there are flowers in God's garden of Prouder blooming, brilliant and bold and bright. The tulip and rose are fierier and brighter, but this is a softer hue, a whiter and milder light. For that reason, it is not something which has to be seen as not, having no place. You can't, it has its own hue, it has its own charm. The smallest of flowers has its own beauty. So in God's garden, let 1,000 flowers bloom. And each flower brings its own beauty to the totality of creation. That's how it should be. If everybody becomes the same, then this earth will become a very, very, very boring place. Mother speaks of it that, Tolstoy's son met her in Japan and he was on a mission. What was the mission? This world should become one. So how it will become one? So he said if everybody speaks the same language, it will become one. He had also named that language Esperanto. He said everybody should speak Esperanto, they'll become one. People don't become one by speaking the same language. If that was so, husband and wife from the same background, same language would never have fought. Languages don't unite people. It's the heart and love that unites people. But people have this idea about language uniting people. So each one is unique and different, and our work is to fulfill that for which we are born. Long be thy days in rain and sunshine. Rain and sunshine are symbols of there will be passages of life and there will be purificatory rituals of rain. Clouds will come, sunshine, the labor will come. Long be thy days in rain and sunshine. Often thy spring relume, gladdening thy mother's heart with thy beauty. Flower like, doing thy gentle duty to be loved and bloom. So, what is your work? He has fixed for her. To be loved and to bloom and to spread sweetness, doing your duties with all the different shades of life. This is to spring child Basanti, this all of us, of course.